Good morning, good evening, good night, everyone. Welcome back to another session of the Micromotor Workshop, the place for technical and social experiments. It's another hot day in Australia. I've covered all the windows on this side so that the cameras are not getting outblown too much. And I'm getting into the groove of things after having done around, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 or so of these live casts. So I'm organizing my content now in piles. So you see here that pile on this chest is what I'm going to talk about today. And here I made some space on my workbench to show you the stuff. And I'll be at the same time using the chat rooms. So the Discord chat room, what I linked in the show notes, and the built-in YouTube chat, which had a few problems last time, and it's not persistent across sessions. And to allow you to keep chatting when the session finished, I created another channel on our Discord server. And to give you a closer look on what's happening on that side, I'm again running one of my FPV cameras next to the bench, which transmits into my receiver setup over here, which pumps the data into a Blackmagic intensity shuttle, which then streams it at ridiculous potato TV quality to YouTube. And that's mainly, just to say it again, because of my limited bandwidth of less than 700K, which lets me stream in 240p at minimum refresh rate, which I believe is 15 frames per second. I would even lower that, reduce the audio bandwidth and reduce it to only one audio channel. But YouTube doesn't let me do this. So this is the worst quality that YouTube live streaming can deliver, which is even less than the resolution of my FPV cameras, what I'm using. So here we go. This is the image of the camera back there. And I'll be using that to give you a closer look on the stuff I'm going to talk about. So let me see. So the Discord chat is busy already. Where do we start? Good evening, everyone. Change his name to Kizazos, Mr. E. The usual suspects are in here, right? Madman says Guten Tag. Guten Tag. Guten Tag heißt es. Marono likes my voice. Thank you. Maybe I should switch this thing off for the meantime. So behind you on the desk space you cleared, yeah, a little bit of space I cleared here. I don't show you all the mess around that, so just that place I cleared. Yep, exactly. And yeah, it's transmitting via no, not this, that's just the built-in camera into my computer, into the monitor. But yeah, the image what you are going to see is high-tech, exactly, Madman, 240p. One of the reasons I can't live there. Yeah, there are many reasons why you shouldn't live in Australia. 240p, we meet again, says Buster Photo. And yeah, gigabit fiber, that would be nice. And yeah, it takes me a long time to upload my videos, but who cares? I'm sleeping while it uploads. But what really bugs me is the stream quality of my upload. But apart from that, I can tell you it's not that bad if you have proper bandwidth management and download all your stuff overnight, a bit of preparation. It's not that bad, but I fully agree. It's pathetic that I'm still living on a crappy DSL 2 Plus line, which doesn't even deliver half of what's technically possible, although I'm only 600 meters away from the exchange. Buster Photo is a big fan, thank you. So, and Las, or is it an I? LAS or IAS is soldering with his good old ERSA station while watching the stream and relaxes. I assume it's around 1:30 at night in Germany. Have fun. So a quick glance into the chat room on YouTube. Where's Darklord? Eric says Darklord is, I'm sorry, Darklord's over here. So yeah, he should be more prominent, so he'll be occupying the desk for a little bit. So David Mills promises not to derail things too much tonight. Well, let's see. Master RC student finished indoor house painting. 70 degrees in sunny California. Yeah, here it's only, I think, 30 degrees. But Celsius. Not exactly sure what that's in Fahrenheit because that's such a weird translation calculation, but I think maybe somewhere around 90, 100. 100 is body temperature, right? So 100 degrees Fahrenheit would be 37 degrees Celsius. So yeah, 80 or 90, I believe. Ernesto Di Terrible is in Holland watching. Good stuff, Ernesto. And Eric comes from Norway. And Direct Du 1049 comes from Quebec. And Ernesto says Guten Tag as well. All right, guys, let's get moving. I think the stream is working quite well today. So I will put that in full screen. Oops, get this one out of the way. So this is 4:3. It's because the FPV camera is 4:3, and now you can see my my neck. So let's see. Audio still works. Last couple of times I forgot to change the audio source when I changed the video source. So let's see. Darklord is in action. And yeah, so I have a few new things that arrived here over the course of the last week. This here, oops, where should I put it? Here. Maybe I should have something to put a little bit higher up here. So, but yeah, it's not so much to see. It's a Nano QX FPV flight controller. And I did the only modification which I think is required to make this thing fly larger motors, as in 8 by 20 millimeter motors, and that is soldering a beefier power plug. So the reason for that is, where did I put the old one? Snipped it off and checked it in my bin here. I'm not sure where it is, but it's tiny. It has way too thin wires to supply the current we want to pump through it, which is around 10 amps. And yeah, if you have a Nano QX flight controller, you might have noticed the wires are way too thin to do that. So they maybe can do 4 or 5 amp, but no way they can do 10 amps or even more. And that's what we need to run 8mm motors. So yeah, that's the only modification what you have to do to the Nano QX FPV. That's the important bit here. So there's two flight controllers, Nano QX flight controller and the Nano QX FPV flight controller. The wire harness is a little bit different, so you can actually power the FPV gear as well, but that's has to be removed anyway. But the main thing why you want to have the FPV version is because the throttle curve and the PID settings are supposed to be different than on the original Nano QX flight controller. I didn't buy the Nano QX FPV, and this is the first few of those flight controllers what I bought. So I hope they will work well for making good entry-level FPV quads. Yeah, so I'm keen to figure out how this works. The main issue what I notice on these flight controllers is the plugs are on the bottom. So I could just try to desolder them and put them into the top, but one of the solder joints is right at the end of one of the MOSFET contacts, and yeah, there's not much enough room to move them all across. So I assume what I will be doing is print a small plate with holes in the bottom and some wire channels, and then when that's done, this is just getting stuck or zip tied onto the frame. Because the flight controller is very light, don't know exactly how much, but lighter than the flight controllers I usually use, and so yeah, it can't be that much of a harm to put a bit more plastic on it. So yeah, I just weigh it with the plug hanging off here. It says around 3 grams, so that's already 2 grams less than an Nyla Wii Plus receiver. So yeah, I think I can afford a gram of plastic more on this thing and not have to muck around with all the plugs, because it's supposed to be repeatable. So if I would only do one, I'd probably just desolder them, but because I want to make lots of them and maybe a little tutorial video on how to do that, I want to make it a little bit easier. And printing a part is definitely less work than desoldering 4 of these micro plugs. So be careful with the antenna, says Harold. Yeah, that's right. So these little antennas here is just like a coated piece of stiff wire, and it's certainly advisable to hot glue the corner of this thing to make it less prone to breaking, because yeah, just bend this stuff back and forth a few times, it will break. It's SB Jenks asked if this is the Nano QX Spectrum protocol. Well, it's the flight controller of a Nano QX. So yeah, it's running on DSM. I'm not even sure if it's DSM2 or DSM-X. It says Horizon Hobby, FCC ID. Oh yeah, new gadget what I also got. It's this magnifier here. I read this in the forums a lot, so I had to get one. Magnifier with built-in, I think 2.5 times magnifying glass with built-in LED lighting. FCC ID something, can't even read that. Horizon Hobby. Yeah, and it says don't throw it away. And it has a CE sign. Yeah, but it doesn't, I'm not sure if there's any hint that it's actually the FPV version, but it says this on the package. So the code for these flight controllers is BLH7208. I think 01 is the normal version, which due to the PID settings and throttle curve is quite difficult to fly with 8mm motors. No blade. You're right, says Madman. Flipping the sockets on NQX is the same. It works, but components can interfere with that. Yeah, you can actually run, I believe, you can run these flight controllers upside down. But for initialization, you might have to put them this way, and then you can turn it up again. But this will only work in agility mode. So as soon as you fly in safe mode, which uses the accelerometer, the flight controller needs to be right side up. So Harold wants to know anything about connecting beefs, brushed boards to computers. You need that the programmer for it, but yeah, you better go to the forums for that. I'm not the expert for connecting beef boards, unfortunately, but Mr. Chaos Ash told me he figured it out, so he's going to tell me soon how that's going to work. DSM-X and DSM-2. It tries to bind DSM-X first. Well, that's a good move, so you can use it apparently with DSM-X and DSM-2. I'm not really sure where the advantage is. I used both on different receivers, and I think they work the same. I researched a little bit, and apparently one of the advantages of DSM-X is that it's smarter in frequency hopping and avoiding, so it should be easier to run a lot, maybe like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 DSM-X links at the same time, whilst with DSM-2 you apparently get issues earlier. I usually fly by myself, and even at the FPV races where we had at least 4 going at the same time, and probably a few more guys mucking around with their stuff in the pits, I haven't seen any problem with DSM-2. So yeah, I don't really know. I think it's mostly marketing. So yeah, you don't have to sign up for YouTube. You just have to watch the channel, which you can do without joining YouTube and creating an account, and then follow the link to the chat server. Usually you would have to have a YouTube account to do that. Some people don't like it. Yeah, the non-FPV version works with 8.5mm motors, says Lars. Lars, how should I pronounce your name? Lars? Yeah, I just checked it. It's an L. So should I say Las or LAS? So Last says begs to differ. The right revision of the NQX non-FPV version flies well with 8.5mm motors. Okay, I didn't know that. I was not going to take chances, but use that what most people recommend. Sky flies better and is programmable and cheaper. That's it's programmable and it's cheaper, but that also means that you can screw up the programming or not getting it right. So I thought my Nano QX flies better than my Sky or Sky, but it might just be me not having tuned clean flight properly. I probably should use Betaflight on it. I heard installing Betaflight will make things better. CodPro RC says something on YouTube as well, but it's difficult to use 2 active chats. Yeah, I'd prefer everyone, if you can, unless you refuse for some reason, you can still hang out in the YouTube chat, but I would like you to all come across to the Discord chat, but yeah, I'll try to do both. Just another can of worms opened, I believe. So the cool thing is you can send pictures in that Discord chat, as Madman just did, and he sent a nice graveyard box shot of dead flight controllers. So yeah, that's what you usually end up with. One box of bad transmitters, one box of bad flight controllers, one box of bad batteries, just in case at some stage you might want to use them again. Sure. I have huge boxes of that as well. Have you ever built a quad with a Beef's brushboard? Asks Harold. I did, and I failed, but yeah, it's again maybe to my inability of using clean flight. Little Q4 frames. Yeah, I have some of those too. I don't like them too much. And I think the main reason for that is because they have these tiny transmitters to go along with them. If I would have a small Nano QX, no, not Nano QX, Cheerson frame that could fly with 6 by 12 millimeter motors and it would bind to a proper transmitter, I'd be a fan, I think. A box of daddies. Daddies, they are. El Presidente. Hey Shane, welcome back. Christo hopes to fall in love with an alien soon. Oh, you're not a fan of the Sky? No, I actually have two of the Skies, and I didn't even get to using the second one. But having said this, I have still enough Alien Wii flight controllers left for my own entertainment, so my pressure currently isn't that high to move to other flight controllers, which will cost me more work to set up than using my already tuned sketches for the Alien Wii Classic Narrow and the older versions. I recently learned that these older versions, the square ones, this is a version 2.4, which I think is the last version of these square old aliens. They have some issues with running version 2.4, so they get kind of completely confused if you flash 2.4. Maybe there's something you can change and it will work again, but I just went back to flashing 2.3 on them. And yeah, and all the others just goes a very well seasoned version of Multi-Wii 2.4, which I've pretty much read every single line of code in the meantime. Not that I understand everything, it's actually quite confusing code, but I changed most of the things what I thought might change something, and if it worked better, I left them, and if not, I moved it back. So yeah, I just like to know as much as I can to yeah, I'd like to understand what code is running on there, and I don't understand how CleanFlight works. Not that it's impossible, that I could not understand it if I really try, but it seems to be a lot more complex to me, a lot more features, a lot more things I would need to understand, which I actually don't need. So that's why, nothing in general against Sky or Beef or Multiflight. I think they're all very good flight controllers within their own means. I'm just a fan of the aliens. So someone who knows that I'm a fan of the aliens sent me this one here. Came along with a nice letter which says, "Hi Benedict, my name is Luke and I contacted you near the start of January about my Alien Wii clone, the Nyla Wii." So it says this on the rear here, Nyla Wii. Actually means alien backwards. And that is, I'm not sure they just want it to be different, but I also think that yeah, it's just a copyright thing. Lance doesn't like to use the term Alien Wii himself anymore because he thinks there are problems with the term Wii from the Nintendo Wii. And yeah, so he doesn't want to. That's why it's funny that Luke actually kept the Wii part but changed the alien, which is, I think a word which you cannot copyright protect. But yeah, this is the Nyla Wii. 32U4, it says version 0.2. Yeah, I like pre-release, early hack versions. And this one here is even a special version of that rare version. It says serial number. Can you read that? It's confusing here. Closer. It says serial number 1. So I continue. I took one to the race meeting on Tuesday the 2nd. So it refers to the FPV race meetings we have on the Spitfire kart track in Sydney, but I had to leave early and completely forgot to give it to you. Yeah, it's pretty intense in there, right? So I'm glad you sent me this thing, Luke. I hope you're watching. I know it's lunchtime in Australia, so I'm not sure if you, I don't know, go to school, have a job, or something else to do, or if you are able to watch in the middle of the day. But yeah, thanks a lot for that. Further, it says here it's running the Alien Wii brushed sketch based on MultiWii 2.4, and the settings are mostly defaults, except that he has set an arm switch and the rates are bumped slightly. Yep, I'll probably just fetch my own code on this anyway. But it's good to know that you flashed the bootloader and flashed a sketch on it, because all the boards I got from Lens have been so reliable, even though I did pretty much everything you can do wrong with them, that I never had to reflash the bootloader. And yeah, the last two boards, custom boards I got from Rob at Micro FPV in the Netherlands, I still can't use them because the plug for the port here didn't come yet, so I couldn't flash a bootloader, and hence I couldn't flash a sketch, which, by the way, is admittedly one of the great advantages of the new clean flight, I think all clean flight controllers, that the bootloader is apparently separate enough from the sketch that you can't mess it up. So even if you flash the wrong sketch, which I just learned from Michael this morning, you can bridge the boot jumpers on the clean flight boards, at least on the Aliens what I have, and that brings them back into bootloader mode, and then you can flash another sketch independently from what garbage you flashed on there before. So back to this one. Thank you very much, Luke. I'm really stoked about this. Another one for the collection, and yeah, put this together and try to fly this during the next race, which is going to be February 23rd at a new track, somewhere even further away. So it's, I think, almost 2 hours drive for me. But nonetheless, these events are really becoming a highlight of that hobby for me. So I'll turn up there in, sorry for shaking the camera, somewhere in Bankstown, I believe it is. Sounds lovely already. But yeah, I'll turn up there, and I'm pretty sure if you test this already, it will be a no-brainer to put this on one of my FPV quads. Just solder a power connection to it. It does not have a 5-volt output. And I'm not really a fan either of using voltage regulators on flight controllers. As convenient as this may sound, if something goes wrong, if the camera draws too much power, that seems to have issues on the flight controller. So I like to power my stuff over a wire harness. One arm goes into the flight controller and the other goes into the voltage regulator for the FPV gear. So yeah, this just arrived one day after the last, well, actually I think just hours after the last live cast, and so I hope next week I have something flying on that base. So what's happening in the chat room in the meantime? Guys are really jealous. So, trying to fix things. If they're going to be jealous, burn them. I'm seeing a micro FPV EU cam on the quad. How do you like it? I've got two on the way, says Flemmen Melistar. Yeah, so this is the TE93 all-in-one camera right here. I have some more of them. Yeah, so that's what I will be talking about today as well. They're very nice cameras. Indeed, microfpv.eu brought me onto them. I purchased a few more before that, but I never used them until he actually told me that they're good. Flashing the Classic with 2.3 sketch help you too. Yes, that seems like a good thing to do, Jesse, and I believe I've done this based on one of your posts. So Mr. E posts a funny picture of, I don't know what it is. It says X4 FPV, so it looks like one of these new Hubsons. And then there's some weird, is it a flight controller sticking out at the rear? So yeah, feel free to have a laugh about this, Mr. E. It's kind of a funny picture. So, and Madman, yes, this is, I forgot to say this. This is the flight controller is it's the lorikeet. That's the below the main name Nyla Wii 32U4 version 0.2. It says Rainbow Lorikeet Edition. So that's because Luke liked my videos about the rainbow lorikeets, but him being a local, he knows them very well himself. So these little sparrow-sized, colorful little parrots you've seen in some of my videos, they are the rats of the air in and around Sydney and probably way beyond. So you see them everywhere in huge, what's it called? Flocks, I think it is. It's kind of weird that for a assembly or a group of animals, we have to have always different names. Kind of weird. It would be much easier if it just all would be a herd. For example, a herd of lorikeets. You see them everywhere. Flemmen Melistar in the house. Welcome. It's a CC 3D micro clean flight custom made brushed ESCs thing in the Hubson. Wow. Harold posts a picture of a carbon micro H without props. Looks good so far. Could be a beef board in there. I see electrical tape around the wires. Ooh, use heat shrink. Just use some super glue and drill them with prop drill. Yeah, you can drill the props. I have different drills to drill the props. I bought a whole assembly of little micro drills. So if you go on eBay and put in, I think, micro drill builds or something, you can get collections like this. It goes all the way from 0.3 millimeters in 0.05 millimeter steps. So you have 0.3, 0.35, 0.4, 0.45, etc., up to 1 mil. And then for some reason you don't have 1.1, but 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, up to 1.6. And I use different ones to figure out what's the exact size I need to drill props so they fit, press fit on 1 millimeter shaft. You know, who would have thought if you drill them with 1 millimeter, they are too loose. So in general, if I'm drilling them at all, I'm only drilling them with 0.9 or 0.95 millimeters, but I have found most of the times I'm not getting the hole properly aligned, even if I'm using a drill press. So my preferred way of preparing props is just take an old motor and stick it in all the way and pull it out, do it a few times, and if it still sits tight, it's a keeper. Sometimes by doing this you get them too loose too quickly, and yeah, sometimes by doing it you'll break the motor because it's such a hard press on some. These props are quite good here. I'll talk about them a bit later as well. The Proto X SLT says bust a photo binds to any link. Really? I think I have one of them, and I was briefly flying the Dromedar Ominous with the thing, but I haven't. So you're saying this thing here will fly a Proto X SLT? Oh, hang on, the SLT is that large quad, right? It's not Proto X SLT. It's the world's smallest. Oh no, it says the world's smallest something. So this is a little bit different one. I have Proto X SLT, it says. I don't have any, I think. So Buster Photo says you can fly a Gearson, no, a Proto X SLT with this AnyLink module. So it connects to the trainer port of your radio, and then I forgot how it actually works. Do you have to press a button to bind it? Here's a mode button, a recessed one, so it's usually bind buttons are exposed, and it seems to run over single cell Lipo 450 milliamp. How convenient, so I can easily replace it with the Hubsan pack once this pack dies. So, oh man, it's generally long. Make quick to catch up. So, Fleming Malister is bailing on the video cast because I was shaking the camera. Buster Photo sent some photos from some Proto X frames. And Harold, I'm not sure if he's asking me. I think he's asking me if I'm selling my FPV setup. Yeah, I plan to sell these cameras, but more to that in a minute. And yes, they are MC900 camera modules in there, I believe, and sensors. The Murder of the Crows, Pedro V. Rats of the air, says Christo, in Germany are the pigeons. Yeah, pigeons, you know, lorikeets are much nicer. They're kind of fun and cheeky, and yeah, they don't hang around in public places and eat shit, but yeah, they prefer to eat honey, so they hang around at nice places usually. Shane posts a picture of him standing in front of his on his veranda with two kookaburras on his hands. So that's kind of special. So kookaburras are actually quite scary with their huge beaks and their kind of erratic behavior. yeah, well done, Shane, for taming them. That's impressive. So you want to see that, what I'm talking about? Go to the Discord live chat that I've posted in the YouTube live chat. We have kookaburras here, says here. Very nice. I have them sitting on my balcony as well to check out the valley. And what, they chase your microquads? I haven't seen that. So when I was flying around the kookaburras, they seem to be annoyed, slightly annoyed, and snap after them when they get close, but they have not been chasing them. That's funny. Christo hates to search the clear Hubsons when crashing while indoor FPVing. Yeah, clear props are even harder to find than black props, but yeah, once you lose any of these props somewhere, it's, yeah, the biggest challenge is to find them, right? Master RC student says there's some big modules. Yeah, this is not going into the transmitter, but I think with these bars here, you're supposed to snap it onto some crossbar, which I don't have on my receivers. So I just plug it in there and let it dangle from the back, because I'm not really frequently using it. Otherwise, I would just probably Velcro it to the back. By the way, Velcro, it's one of my topics as well. A quick one. If you're using Velcro or think about using Velcro, this is 3M dual lock tape. There are two versions of it. This is the low profile version. It's like Velcro, but one of the advantages is it's universal. So there's no hook side and carpet side, or you want to call it. But it's just the same thing. So you cut a piece off and put it together, and it has a very distinct kind of snap feel, because it's like two multiple fingers coming from each side, and each finger has like a mushroom head, so they interlock this way, symmetrical. Very good stuff. This is good enough to put micro batteries onto microquad frames. So if rubber bands or something are not convenient, so for example, I use this on this FPV Hex here, just stick a piece on there, and if you put it in place, it will hold them very securely. Usually does not come off in a crash, and because you can move it slightly back and forth and it will stay there, as opposed to rubber band mount. If you crash somewhere, it might offset the balance, but this stuff stays there. Quite good, but if you have a lot of batteries and a lot of quads, it gets expensive. So I don't know, $5 or something for a small piece of it. But that's hardware store prices. You might get it cheaper on eBay, but I think I was kind of shocked about the price even when I checked it out on eBay. So SB Jenks takes a prop, takes a shaft out of an old motor and turns a handle for it, and use that to pre-ram the props. Exactly. Pre-ramming props is important. Buster Photo says they sell these rainbow markets, probably autocorrect, rainbow lorikeets for almost $300 in the US. I think it's a crime to put birds into cages. That's just not the right thing to do. Mockingbirds, I think I don't know what the other word for kookaburras is. Laughing birds, maybe. Their laughing is just so awesome. It sounds like a group of monkeys, and they do this every morning and every night. So they sit out here on the balcony and laugh like a crazy bunch of monkeys. It's super funny. Yeah, kingfisher, exactly. Cheyenne says kingfisher birds, they are. Will do. I don't have a proper transmitter. Drop it to unit PM. Proto X isn't the smallest anymore. The Flureon FX10 is. Yeah, I think it doesn't have to be smaller than a Cheerson. Or Proto X. Yeah, Proto X was the original of the Nano QX, and I think it's just too small. Nano QX is as small as I want to have things. The Ernesto says the police over here, which is in Ernesto was in Norway, I think. The police over here uses bald eagles to get quadcopters out of the air. Now, I don't think birds should do that either. You know, what a bird supposed to catch a quadcopter out of the air? I mean, yeah, you know, for microquad maybe, but do you really need to have a police force to get microquads out of the air? And if a bird is going to grab a, let's say, Inspire out of the air, I think both will go down. Not a good idea. So, decent thrust via Hex and Clean Flight. No, actually not. I'm not too happy with the power of this thing. It flies okay, very stable, very nice, very controllable, but a quad has more punch. And Shane thinks the profile dual lock is the duck's guts. I assume that's a thumbs up, right, Shane? I'm not sure if I like duck's guts, but I really like 3M dual lock. I also use the high profile version for example, sticking the camera to that solar station. So I can't show you that right now, but I also use that to put large 3S batteries onto my ground station. So I'm not totally sure if I would put a 3S battery with that stuff onto a mini quad. Probably better with a Velcro strap to really put it on. But yeah, for putting on batteries, it's really good. Well, wrong example. This is with a rubber band. Ernesto Holland. Sorry, your name sounds rather Holländish or Finlandish or Norwegish. They even take phantoms, so they take down phantoms with eagles. I think there are so many better ways to take down a quadcopter. You know, at first I'd go after the pilot, not after the quadcopter. And if you really want to get this thing down, you know, as police force, just use a jammer for the control link, and this thing will, well, it will fly home then. Well, otherwise, a shotgun. Oh yeah, here's the video. I posted this. I've seen that on Reddit before. Yeah, that's just weird. So let's see. As you know, I'm now going back to the YouTube chat. There's not even timestamps. But yeah, see if I missed something here. Eric wants to have 30 degrees camera mounts. Yeah, that's possible. So if I get to the cameras, if I actually get some more of them, and Chinese New Year seems just to be finished, then I'll make some more camera mounts. I put this here as a reminder to talk about them as well. So, Adam, how do you feel about surgery? Passing the products onto the community. So yeah, Adam, Mr. Madman, what's your number? Madman number So not that we have more well, we actually probably have a lot of madmans, so that's why it's good that you number yourself, Adam. Adam, aka Madman 1412, is fixing flight controllers, so that's why he has the box of old stuff there. So if you have broken Alien Wii flight controllers, Adam would love to fix them for you, right? Let's see what's coming out of that. So Adam, Eric, and Shane come over to the real chat as Discord. Thanks, Ernesto, pulling over some crowds into the third-party chat. Mr. Mullet says, "What's up, dudas?" See ya, Mr. Mullet. Come across the Discord. And now he's swearing. Who's swearing? Me? That was subconscious. It was me. I'm trying to make this as kid-friendly as possible. A bad storm. You're probably not talking to me. We didn't have a bad storm here recently. Regisharkisaurus. Mr. Mullet has Regisharkisaurus flying. I think I have Regisharkisaurus in preparation somewhere as well. So, where did it go? So that what we're talking about is a very nice hex frame that I forgot where it is. Where did it go? I thought I put it in here. So David Woods has made a frame based on this, which is a hex. So it's quite a bit bigger, and as far as I can see, it has the mounts in a circular pattern as opposed to a sort of more almost linear pattern, which I think will work better with the mixer setup on a hex. Symmetrical is just easier to mix, but yeah, this is not my real problem with these micro hexes. I think the problem is somehow the flight controller, that it just doesn't put enough power through as it should. Mr. E says that I was talking earlier about the battery on the flight controller. Yes, whenever you have issues with power, you should make sure that you have a thick enough and ideally also short enough power lead. So this here is probably not ideal. I'm not totally sure. If in doubt, make it shorter. But yeah, the main thing is thick wiring, as thick as possible as you can get into these plugs. So this is here 20 gauge wire. If other batteries fly okay, Mr. E assumes it's good. Does great work. Adam does great work. Yes, he fixed quite a few flight controllers, as I've heard. And yeah, you can also watch some video tutorials of him building the things literally from scratch, taking the bare boards and soldering the components on there. Very interesting. Looks very time consuming to me, so that's why I appreciate if someone else is doing that. Mr. Mullet switched from power leads to JST, or switched power leads from JST to low-C, and Adam posted the main chat again. So yes, it's circular. I think it's circular. I didn't find it, but it looks like the hex has a circular setup. Still don't believe people chat on Google or Facebook services. Yeah, I don't like it either. There's a Facebook chat thing going on, which is just so cumbersome to use. Chat, chat's always messy, but I think this Discord chat does it quite well. Mr. Mullet asks if you should use a different mixing table. Yeah, well, if you have a hex and it doesn't fly properly, so for example, gives you your roll coupling or something like this, you can try to change the mixer table. On a quad, it's quite simple. If you have a square setup, the mixing table is very simple, but it gets a lot more complex. I haven't really taken the time to research and understand how the mixing tables work, but yeah, if you have a non-conform setup, then you need to change the mixing table to make it work perfectly right. And as far as I can see, the default mixing table for the hex in Nyla Wii and in CleanFlight assumes that the motors are all positioned on a imaginary circle. So Mr. Mullet is here, how to watch the actual feed. And Buster Photo sends him a link. Very nice, thank you. New messages, and also very nice. If I go back to the Discord chat, it actually has a red line in there telling me new messages, so I'll start reading from here. If people don't use plastic props but carbon, I do think they will get hurt. Yeah, I think even plastic props will chew up a bird. Yeah, Madman, most welcome. You can thank me later if you're getting lots of requests, but yeah, probably not that much. Let's see how many people are watching. Peak concurrent user this session have been 31. So yeah, imagine like this being a medium-sized classroom, and Madman and Pedro are sitting in the back and throwing spitballs. So, poor eagles. The whole birds takedown copter is so stupid. Animal abuse. Yeah, right, Scott. Animal abuse. It's just, that's not right. It's 12:30 already. Damn, I haven't even covered half of what I want to talk about. So, Mr. Mullet gets the link. Dutch police isn't aware of carbon props. Using props on the top and on the bottom. So, yeah, put an H8 or something and you will certainly blend the bird. Or minced eagles. Minced eagles. I think eagles are already rare, so don't let them fly into quadcopter blades. The Walking Dead is back, says Mr. Mullet. Mr. Mullet? Mr. Mullet. Dr. Madron. So, further in the text. So I move this pile over here, and when this pile is done, that means I'm done. So yeah, this is a quick topic. See what those are. Black JST plugs. I thought that's kind of interesting because until now we know these plugs here, which are used on many larger single cell batteries. We know them as the red JST plugs. Well, now they are the black JST plugs. So yeah, just for a change, I was running out of them, so I had to go out and buy some more. And bought these. I like to put them on, so you can't really see the difference. This is, on these cameras, comes like a semi-soft wire, not too bad. but not too good either. This here is 20 gauge silicon wire from Hobby King. Very nice, very soft. And then there's a third version. Well, it's probably a lot more, but that's the three kind of main categories. This is very stiff. I got those here pre-crimped, and they're kind of really stiff plastic and thinner, I believe. Does it say something here? Can't really read that, but it's probably less 22. Yeah, so these are 22 gauge wires. Looks almost the same. Oh no, it's actually the insulation is thicker as well, but you can't always compare by the thickness of the insulated wire. Sometimes there's thicker insulation. So yeah, 20, and actually it's the other way around. So the higher the number, the smaller the wire. So this is 22 gauge wire with relatively stiff plastic coating. And this here, what I like to use is 20 gauge wire with silicon coating. Very flexible, will not break, and it's much easier to put into position. And yeah, here on these cameras, they use something in between. Good enough, I would say, but if you're going out and buy your own wires and plugs, just get the good stuff. Silicon coated wires and a PA09 crimper, plus a little bit of practice, and you can very easily make your own adapters. So much to the plugs. I didn't talk much about the cameras yet, so let's do that. There's not much more to say than what I said in the last few episodes, but yeah, they still work quite good. I'm constantly using and testing them, and for example, the stream you see now, yeah, still working, comes out of one of these cameras as well. They only have 25 milliwatts. The main reason to do that was because our countries and FPV races regulations say that we're only supposed to fly with 25 milliwatts maximum. So that's what I'm doing. And to make that easier, I found these cameras here, which, yeah, it's an all-in-one module, camera, video transmitter, antenna. And yeah, I bought them at some stage from Banggood, and yeah, didn't like them too much because I thought, nah, 25 milliwatts, that's not going to be enough. And then I tested them, and I didn't realize at this stage that those what I had were actually right-hand polarized antennas. By the way, I figured out a good way to memorize what is the left hand and the right hand one, and that is, you look at the lobe pointing towards you, the upper end, that's what the direction is. So if this lobe is pointing towards me and this the left hand is up, it's the left hand one. So right, yeah, it's the left hand. So instead of thinking you would screw them in or out or something, just look at which lobe is high. Left lobe is high, it's a left hand polarized antenna. So yeah, I didn't know this at this stage. I actually heard about it, but I didn't look closely enough to realize that those what I have are actually right-hand polarized antennas, and my receivers are left-hand. So I plugged this in, and to check how much of a reception I get, I used the antenna on my roof. And because you're here close by, I still would get a good signal, but with a 400 milliwatt transmitter on the right antenna, I can just plug it in down here, and the antennas on my roof will pick it up. No problem, just super clear signal, even through a couple of brick walls. But yeah, this one didn't, so I put them in the drawer and thought, yeah, just wasted $120 because I think that's much how they cost. I think I paid $60 a piece. And then Rob at Micro FPV, we had a bit of a chat, and he said, "What do you think about those? I think they're great." And I think, really, I think they're not so good. And then he actually asked me, he said, "Oh, I'm sure you checked that they're the right polarization." No, I actually didn't. So I opened up the case, which, by the way, is fairly simple. So if you have one of them and want to muck around on the inside, you see there's two tabs on this side and two on this side. Basically just a plastic lid, which is clamped in there. Just go in between with a flat screwdriver, move both sides a little bit, and then you can pull out the back casing, and out comes the whole assembly. So that whole case just slides off to the front, and you can admire the interior, which is, in the first case, that's why I got interested in them in the first place. It is, I believe, a MC900 camera module. And if you buy just that, the camera plus sensor module by itself, they usually cost around $40. So, but hang on, got to correct that, that's US. So for example, Ready-Made RC sells the camera module plus sensor for $45. And at Banggood, you can buy the complete thing, including the transmitter, for, I think, $40, 40 US. So I revisited them when our local club said you're only allowed to fly with 25 milliwatt, and your dodgy 400 milliwatt transmitters, what you use, they screw up the other people's video feed. So I went back to those, took them apart, soldered a left-hand polarized antenna to it, and voila, it actually works quite well, and it's a very nice, sweet, compact setup. The only thing what bothers me a little bit is to mount them at an angle, because the camera's in the front, you get much more height on the camera than you would need as if the camera module would be separate. But yeah, I think the trade-off here is that it's just very convenient. You have all-in-one module, which only needs power, and that actually was the problem, because this camera, as opposed to this, they look very similar, but internally they're a little bit different. This one has already a built-in voltage regulator. I got this from the factory on order before they left for Chinese New Year. So I ordered just one with that voltage regulator built in, just to see how it works. And it works better than my Ready-Made RC 5-volt step-ups. It's not 100% perfect, so I still see a little bit of interference, but even with the Ready-Made RC one, it was flyable, and now it's okay. It's not really clear footage, so you see it getting a bit worse when you throttle up, but not nearly as bad as with the previous step-ups that I used. And I think this might just be interference transmitted through the air, because the motor wires just run next to the antenna and next to the camera module. So hopefully shielding that with some magic tape, what Micro FPV will be sending me, I hope to get this even more interference free. But Chinese New Year is over. I just got a message this morning from various of my friends deep in the woods in the Guangdong district. That's where most of them hang around. I think it would be an interesting exercise to go and visit there. Let's see if we get this done this year. But yeah, they seem to be back on track. At least that's what they say. It's usually not true. It usually takes them another couple of weeks to get back up to speed. But yeah, we will soon know if they can produce them in larger quantities without charging me an arm and a leg for it. So I will be soon putting out some sort of survey. Maybe I just make a product page up and put the 4 versions which I plan to stock on those, and let you guys vote how much or which of them you prefer, and then I figure out how many of each kind I will order. So there's 4 variants, and that comes out of 2 different lenses. So we'll have them with 120-degree lens. That's what you're currently looking out of. That's 120-degree lens. And we will have them with 90-degree lens, which is a smaller one with the notches at the end. So if it's like a round barrel lens, it's the 120-degree version, and the notched one is the 90-degree version. 2 camera modules and 2 different antennas, left and right hand. So that makes 4 different options. All of them have a 32-channel, 25 milliwatt, 5.8 gigahertz video transmitter, and I believe audio as well. So this one I know it does, but the modified version I'm not totally sure if they have taken out the audio module to put in the voltage regulator. It's actually quite fun to fly FPV with audio, so I'll check if they did this, but yeah, it's I usually don't, but yeah, it can be quite fun actually. So if you haven't tried this yet, try to plug in some earphones. If your goggles have an output, or if you have a regular video splitter, you can just use that as well, and just use the regular 3.5mm jack, and you'll get audio out of that. So yeah, quite funny. It feels a little bit like watching FPV, not FPV, Formula 1 in the 90s, where we had really crap onboard sound. So another round of chat room. Someone posts nice pictures here. That's Adam posting some pictures of his workbench. And something is paliming me here. Oh, this is because someone is sending me. Oh yeah. So every time someone in the chat room mentions my name, it makes palim, which probably, yeah, they're all the same color, like yeah. So it's, I'm not sure if it's helpful if you palim me. I just try to read everything what's in here. So it gets a bit overwhelming, so I'm not sure how long we can do this. So Banggood Fatty Junior for the win. Yeah, so there's the fat version of the Banggood Fatty and the slim version. Come on. Oh, my drawer doesn't open. Oh, here we go. So let's see if I find one. Yeah, here. So this is the Banggood Fatty. It's quite heavy, but very nice wide image with less distortion than most other cameras of this wide angle. One of the downsides of that is it has this neck coming out here at the bottom. So to mount this, at this side is right side up, so it's not very easy to mount. I printed a little mount for it. I don't know where it is. And alternatively, I just used the little thingy on the bottom to hot glue the cam into the frame. But there's a alternative, and that is Fatty Junior. So it looks to me like this is the same thing, but it doesn't have the stuff on the back. So I'll just bend those wires over and you have a relatively flat way to mount the fatty camera. So the Holstein fatty. Kids are listening. What to have fat cams and fat girls in common? They're both on Banggood? No. Sorry for yelling. And what rhymes with PC? I like everyone's pics on the workbench. Makes me realize how messy mine is. And then Madman posts a pic of the actually not so messy, relatively organized but full workbench. Mr. Mullet asks me if I'm getting more varieties of my Lipo. Yes, good point actually. I plan to order a few more different battery sizes. Didn't get through to that yet. And also, interesting stuff they have is these battery connector leads. Banana plugs on one end and 4 plugs for micro batteries on the other end. So they have them for the smallest ones, the micro JST 1.25, which are on the for example on the Nano QX batteries, and they have them for those low C Vicara plugs, and they also have them for the red JST plugs, but all of those what I have are in use, so that's why they're over there somewhere near the charging station. So yeah, I plan to sell those adapter leads because they are probably the cheapest way to get into proper microcharging. You know, what I totally don't recommend is using those ready-to-fly chargers. I have a whole box of them because I buy a lot of ready-to-fly microquads and I never use those chargers. I measured a few which put out up to 4.5 volts, and there are some who just develop some random problems, some who shorten out your USB connection if you actually would plug them. So never do that. Don't ever plug one of these cheapo USB chargers into some expensive computer equipment because it might just fry your USB components on the board. So yeah, these adapters are probably the best way to get into micro charging without spending a lot of money on, well, actually not so much, but I'm using these high-tech X4 micro multi-chargers with adapters that I crimped myself for the JST plugs. So yes, I plan to carry a smaller battery, the 600 milliwatt, very compact version with the regular Vicara low-C plug, and these batteries here, the 555 Voltamat packs, just rebranded my Lipo packs for whatever reason. Very similar in performance to the 480 milliamp ones. And yeah, this is the stock Cyma pack. So yeah, these batteries work quite nicely in geared setups. So I used them quite successfully on my Cyma X5 conversion to 8mm motors. 7 minutes of flight time on 8mm motors geared. It says only 15C, but yeah, I like how they fly. And then yeah, also these fat batteries here. 1100 milliamp, 25C it says. And I think they weigh around, let me check, probably 25 gram or something. Or not even more, almost 29 gram. So yeah, I plan to fly them on the Hexas to see if that provides more punch. Currently in the process of reprogramming this flight controller, so that's why it's not flying yet. But it was a little bit weak on the chest with 480 milliamp packs, although I believe that not the battery is the bottleneck. But yet, yeah, so much to more my Lipo packs. We just got a bulk load of them from the 205 milliamp packs for the Nano QX back in the US. So they sell like crazy. So that gives me enough budget to buy more batteries. So yep, all these are 25 milliwatt. I was not very happy about this in the first place either, but since I'm forced by the local regulations, and we have now formed a official club and we plan to promote this hobby in a more official way, we just have to stick with the regulations, and they say you have to fly maximum 25 milliwatts, which is also actually quite reasonable. So if you try to fly with higher wattage than that, you interfere with each other, which is, by the way, the main reason why they put this regulation in place. You're not supposed to interfere with other participants on that free-to-use ISM band. So only because we think it's so important to fly FPV on that band, that doesn't mean that someone else has less right to watch TV on that channel or do whatever he pleases. So that's why I think it's fair enough that we stick to the regulations and use the power what we are allowed to use. If you want to go beyond that, you can do an amateur radio license and know what to do and know what implications there are, and are allowed to officially transmit with more power. Although I'm not 100% sure if that allows you to transmit on the official ISM bands. You might have to go on other frequencies as well. But this is not really the problem. 25 milliwatts is not really the problem if you want to fly FPV racing, for example. The key is as with most wireless transmissions, the receiver antenna. So if you up the game on the receiver antenna, you can very well fly with 25 milliwatts. And I will, if I find the time, do some comparison videos flying these things as far as I can see, literally through the video feed, with some directional antennas. So I've used at the last race event, which was I think 2 weeks ago. So some of you might have seen the footage what I recorded on that with the you can see it there, right there behind me. If I move out of the way, right here, you can see my receiver station, which is currently receiving the signal as well. What you see, I've been recording the races with 4 directional antennas, and they are the VAS, Video Area Systems Pepper boxes, and the True RC X2 Air antennas, which have a wide horizontal beam and a narrow vertical beam. So it's, well, like a, like a wide view, like a panoramic view, which is exactly what you need if you are spectating from the sideline of a race event. So that worked quite well. And if you have different needs, if you fly somewhere outdoors and want to go further or behind some bushes, I think you can just use different directional antennas on a diversity receiver, and you'll get quite good results out of a 25 milliwatt transmitter, which, by the way, has a few more advantages as well. So it's using only an eighth, roughly, of the power than a 400 milliwatt version, maybe even way less because it's producing way less heat. So what you're looking through is currently running for around 2 hours, the camera. I started setting up the stuff maybe half an hour before I started the stream. So it's running for 2 hours continuously, and I'm careful so I'm not rocking around too much, but it's just getting slightly warm. So as opposed to my 400 milliwatt setups, which melt the hot glue off the board in 2 minutes if you don't start flying immediately. So they need the prop wash and the airspeed to stay cool enough to not desolder themselves in a couple of minutes. So yes, even though 25 milliwatts doesn't sound that much, I actually think it's very manageable. When I get more of that, I will also make more of these, which is just a simple wedge to mount your cameras at an angle like I did here. So, this one's actually a little bit different because it uses a different frame than I usually do, but to mount these on the shark frames, I use this wedge. Goes on here with a little bit of double-sided mounting tape, and then there's a slot in the base what I use to put a zip tie through and hold it in place. A little bit of mounting tape in between as well, so it doesn't slide around. But yeah, that's it. So weighs around a gram and allows you to mount the camera at an angle. This is 20 degrees. I think 20 degrees is a very good compromise. You don't want to have it flat because then you're looking to the floor if you fly forward. And if you have a 2-eye hub, then you'll get into problems if you mess it up somewhere and need to slow down to get your direction back. Then you will be looking at the floor, at the ceiling, and have problems getting your orientation back. So in general, I recommend to start flying at around 10-15 degrees. There's not much point to actually ever mount your camera directly level unless you really want to look at the floor. I mean, maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to fly around and survey the beach or something. But for regular flying, I'd recommend to at least put it up 10-15 degrees. You'll still be able to see the ground. If you have the camera flat, you see a lot of ground. But if you level it up 10 degrees, you can still see the ground here. 20 degrees is where you still can see most of the ground, but you start losing a little bit of that right in front of you. And if you're flying a sporty, 30 degree is what I see a lot of people using. And if you really get good at flying, get it up to 50 or 60 degrees. And I've even seen someone in the last race event who has put his camera to 70 degrees, and he was very fast. So that means to just look ahead, we have an angle of this, and yeah, that was probably the angle he was flying at during the race as well. And he was joking of putting the camera to 90 degrees, which, yeah, fair enough, you know. You can accelerate certainly in that angle, and then in the corners, give it a little bit to get some altitude again. But yeah, I think it's not needed. 70, 80 degrees is probably as much as you want. So Mr. E wipes the arm across the table. Yep, so I answered that. No 200 milliwatts, at least not in this setup. You can very easily get, well, I actually don't have a good source for 200 milliwatt transmitters, but I used to buy these TX 5826, I think they're called, from Banggood, which delivered 400 milliwatts, which is, yeah, nice. Good punch, work nicely, but they get very, very hot. Hex Shark for the win. Here comes the rest of the room. So, yeah, if you are not hanging out in the Discord chat, posted the link in the video description. Come over there. Lots of funny pictures from microquad stuff from the people who watch, which is yeah, maximum number still 31. 31 of you watching. Fatty Junior is awesome, says Scott. Shane posts a very nice picture of his workbench workshop. Very nice, I like that. You can see the chill out area through the window. Computer, 3D printer, one more 3D printer, even more 3D printers. So it looks like a 3D printing workshop. And lots of boxes and stuff. I like it. Lots of quads on the windows. Reasonably tidy today, he says. Is anyone using the 480 milliamp Lipos with the micro H? Yep, that's the only battery I'm using on there. How many minutes do you get? 3.5 minutes. And Shane uses the Lipos, my Lipo 480s on everything that has FPV. Exactly, that's what I'm doing as well. 3.5 minutes. I actually set my timers to 3 minutes. But yeah, 3.5 is certainly possible. I like to have my safety buffer. Mr. Mullet says his micro H is acting weird with the beef sport. Should maybe reflash the board. Maybe. Fleming Minister sets his timer to 3 minutes as well. So yeah, timing of lights is the method to go. I mean, you can have it flashing and beeping, but yeah, unless you put the flasher in front of the camera when you fly FPV, you probably won't notice that anyway. And yeah, 3 minutes, it's just, a timer is very reliable. So unless you change the setup, it will be very reliable. Even with different flight style, it doesn't change it too much. I mean, of course, if you speed around versus just hovering, it will make a bit of a difference. But if you fly regularly, if there's 10 or 20 more or less seconds of hovering, it doesn't make too much of a difference. 3 minutes, and they always end up between 3.8 and 3.9 volts for me. Struggles to get off the ground. Yeah, this sounds like power issue. So one thing I like to do, and yeah, the setup for that is a little bit expensive, but I like to test my batteries on a discharger. I use a iCharger or Juno. I think it's the original brand. Hobby King rebrands them as iCharger. I'm using an iCharger 406 Duo, I think it's called. Yeah, 406 Duo, which has a very high, up to 40 amp discharge capacity. So I can plug these batteries in and discharge them at up to 40 amps. It drives down the current that the voltage stays above 3.3 volts or whatever you set it to. I set it to 3.3 volts. So I get the amperage what they are able to deliver without sagging below 3.3 volts. And yeah, that gives me a objective measure on the batteries before I go and fly and crash them because of the weak battery. So Mr. Mullet, this, if you're saying it struggles to get off the ground, it sounds like a power issue to me. So Fleming Melster says he has 205 my Lipos puff up. I sold, I think, almost 1,000 of them, and only a few had problems. So I think I've seen 2 or 3 puffed ones and a few with somehow broken connector. So if you buy any stuff from me which turns out to be broken out of the box or doesn't live up to the expectations, please let me know and I'll fix you up. Having said this, I heard Mini Aviation 220 milliamp packs are very nice for the Nano QX as well. So Mr. Mullet has noise on all his FX758 by spaced FPV micros. Yeah, tinfoil might help. So there's some special foil I'm getting from microfpv.eu, which he says is more shielding. So Master RC student posts a picture of the live stream on some TV and in the foreground the chat room. Good stuff. Mr. Mullet leaves, and that was at 1:01 p.m. 8 minutes ago. So I'm catching up. I'm 8 minutes in the past. You watching Walking Dead and Micromotor Potato Cast. Yeah. I need that camera mount. So you need that camera mount. I've got an olive green flight controller and 2 Cam TX on the way. So yeah, I don't have too many of them, but they're easy to print. I design most of my stuff to be easy to print. As those of you who know into printing know, you need to take care of support. So you can't have like weird bridge structures and stuff, because that will make it difficult to print and takes a lot of time to clear up the support, especially if you want to print more of them. But yeah, I might print a few more when I get more of these camera modules, and if things really start rolling, I will get them made. I think it probably costs me $1 or $2 or so to make one of these mounts. Cool Baza Doc is in the house. Yo. My Tarantula almost got 80 degrees forward pitch with a Devo 10. Oh, that's cool. And Estu says he's flying a Tarantula with a Devo 10, which is some ready-to-fly quad or even hex. I don't know exactly. But usually the problem with the flight controllers, the ready-to-fly flight controllers that have a angle mode, is that it's limited, usually at a very low angle, like 45 degrees. So that doesn't allow you to go very fast, or even more important, make quick corrections. For example, if you would bump into something, you want to pitch back aggressively, ideally 90 degrees, and throttle up instead of just, yeah, like that, because the more throttle you give at that angle, the more altitude you will also get. So the more aggressive you fly, the more angle you want to have, and most cheapo flight controllers with only level mode are too limited. What I do on the alien Wiis is set the maximum inclination angle, that's what it's called, I think in multi-Wii.h, to 70 or 80 degrees, somewhere around that. 70 is usually quite convenient, but if you have something really powerful, we want to go up to 80. So, and yeah, we actually flip. You can set the angle to 180 degrees as well. So at full stick deflection, it will go down. So you can fly like slalom, vertical slalom quite easily, or just, go inverted, even in level mode. It's all possible. Level mode is underrated. So yeah, there's 2 channels on the chat server. I try to be smart with that, so I'm not getting too much of other chat in here. Otherwise, I'd just be completely lost in the chat room, trying to make some sort of useful content for you guys and reading the chat at the same time. It's frying my brain. So yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jesse. Posted one of my old videos, or launch it like you stole it. That's why I started to figure out how much angle you actually want to go. Yeah, it's quite funny, that video. So you might want to go to the chat room and check it out. So fat. Adam says fat. There's a funny song from Fettes Brot, if you're interested. Fettes Brot lässt heute wieder mal die Sau raus. So I'm looking at the YouTube chat now. I don't know where I left off. DSM2, where's the other chat? Discord, GG. So yeah, I copy the link again. If someone could do me a favor and copy the Discord chat link again into the YouTube chat, that would be nice. Otherwise, stroll up or look into the video description. Shane asks me if my version of 2.3 is publicly available. I don't know. Let me have a look. Public multi-Wii. Yeah, I think so. So share Dropbox link. Multi-Wii. So I post this in the YouTube chat. I said multi-Wii. So yeah, close. There's a Dropbox link and into the Discord chat as well. So that contains a couple of my multi-Wii sketches. Be careful, it's kind of work in progress. So whatever you get today might be different from what you get tomorrow. And there's no guarantee for anything, but yeah, they work for me. So and Esto says, still don't believe people chat on Facebook or Google. So yeah, so I didn't miss too much. The YouTube chat is not very busy. Good job, guys. So Quad Bro was AFK for 15 minutes. What did I miss? The YouTube stream has also a feature that you actually can go back and watch the thing delayed. I think for up to 4 hours you can go back. I don't plan to have this that long. It's almost 2 hours, so I'm yeah, I hope I get towards the end soon. There's still a bit more stuff to talk about. So yeah, if you missed something, just scroll back or watch the recording. I stopped deleting the streams afterwards. And yeah, Shane, welcome. If you have any problems with MultiWii 2.3, let me know. At some stage, if I get to it, I'll organize my little repository a little bit better. But I think it's more like a start. There are working chats, working sketches in there. So yeah, just use it as a start. But most of them are interchangeable as well. So I just randomly flicked all the switches back and forth until it flew as I thought it should. So yeah, more stuff here on my reminder pile. More props. Lots of people have been asking me for more parrot props. I don't exactly understand why, because lots of shops sell them. But I have a source for them, so I bought more because I'm using them myself. There's a bunch of more of them arriving very soon in Texas, in our US outpost. So if you want to have more of them, they will be available soon. We're out of stock at the moment. And also, talking about props, I went back to carbon reinforced Hubsan style props. That's what's on this quad here as well. They are pretty much the same shape like your average Hubsan prop, with the slight change of having a large hub, which some of the Hubsan props have, not all of them unfortunately. Even the clear ones have a little bit of a shorter hub. The long hub is useful because it covers the whole shaft, and if you crash upside down, the impact force goes onto the motor housing, which usually doesn't matter much, and not onto the shaft, which would translate the force onto the commutation and the end cap and create damage. So I like props with large hubs. That's one of the reasons also why I use these parrot props, because they have a long hub and are balanced quite well. So I very rarely get a parrot propeller which is out of balance, but I get a lot of Hubsan props which are out of balance. So even those clear ones, which I liked for a long time for their toughness, for their relatively long hub, and for, well, just the cool looks. Yeah, I didn't have too much success with them lately. So it seems like a couple people picked up that it's good, that they sell good, and now everyone makes them cheap. So the first ones what I got, they were really tough, and you could crash them and crash them until yeah, the ends were just all completely scuffed up. I have a pair of them which is completely green from shredding all the grass and the leaves, and they are almost intact. But the last batches, what I got from those, they like to split at the hub. Just one crash and boom, you split the prop in half. And yeah, I crashed into a rock on the beach and I had 3 propellers broken in half. So I said, okay, no more buying clear Hubsan props. But what else should I buy? I mean, the Parrot props, yeah, they're good, but on some frames, for example, on this one, they don't fit. And also quite expensive to crash them apart all the time. So I fly them on those quads where I absolutely don't want to crash. So for example, on a race day, I'd rather fly Parrot props than when bashing them around the house. But then some of you might remember that old story. I went back to extreme production in Hong Kong. They also make Hubsan props with carbon reinforced plastic. So it's not carbon fiber. If you look at them, they don't look like carbon fiber. But as opposed to a normal Hubsan prop, it's not a normal Hubsan prop, but it's similar to a Hubsan prop, the original one. They're very flexible. And for something which should translate the force, I don't think it's really good that they're so flexible. It's good for crashing, but not for flight performance. These ones here are very stiff. So just trying to bend it up rather bends the arm than the prop. So they're really very nice and stiff, and they take a beating. My main problem with them was, so I bought a few hundred of them like a year or two ago, and then started selling them because I thought that would be the bee's knees. Turns out a lot of them came very unbalanced. So people got frustrated about this and I stopped selling them. I still had a whole bunch of them left, so when I was building this thing, I put them on, and after digging through 2 or 3 packs of them, I found 4 which work very nicely, and even crashing this thing a lot, yeah, they hardly show any sign of damage, just a little bit of a burr kind of at this tip where they hit things, but yeah, very, very rigid props, perform quite nicely. And so I went to the company and said, did you fix your balancing issues? I want to have some more props. And they said, yep, we fixed them, maybe. We improved the molding process, but it's still not perfect. The molding process is not perfect. So instead, we sell you more of them. Is it good? There's now a set of 8 for the price of 4. So I'll be selling them at $6 a set, $6 for 8. And in most cases, that gives you 4 usable ones. I still rather recommend taking two sets of 8. Chances are better that you get 2 good sets out of 16 than you get 1 good set out of 8. And yeah, it might sound a little bit pessimistic, but yeah, you probably get 4 usable ones, even more out of 1 set of 8. But yeah, once you figure that out, which of them actually run true, then yeah, you have a very good solid set of props. So I ordered a few hundred of them to start with. Here's what I have left. All the rest I shipped to John, who should get them in a day or 2, and then I'll put them up on the shop and see if you guys like them better this time. So some comments on that. Some cool pictures here. Madman frame. Where are the emojis on this chat? Or you can use all sorts of emojis. Just put colon, something colon, and if you're lucky, it makes a emoji. And I don't know what exactly list it is, but if you just go onto Google and put an emoji, a lot of the emoji codes work on the chat. So newer Hubsons are cloudy too, not as strong as they used to be. Right, even though they are not cloudy, I think it's just you just get a random piece of stuff by ordering from AliExpress or eBay. Many different people sell different stuff that looks the same. So the sickness is taking over. What size are they? Says Master RC student 3 minutes ago. So I assume you're talking about the props, right? They are 55 millimeters Hubsan, exactly the same shape as Hubsan propellers. Wow, here's some cool picture of a quite impressive workshop, a panorama picture from, who sent it? Denovic. Very nice. I'm jealous. It's that like a CNC router and some other vacuuming stuff. 3 workbenches, lots of tools. I like it. So Buster Photo says your favorite FC available right now you can purchase online. It's a tough question, to be honest. Nano QX flight controller? I don't know. Micro MWC? Yeah, it's really a tough question. I think there's nothing better than the classic 18 Wii flight controllers. So a bandsaw it is apparently. And yeah, madman, I put the propeller head map back on the contact page on my website. It wasn't actually intentional to remove it. I changed some things and it disappeared. So I'm sorry for hiding the map for a couple of months. If you go to micromotorwarehouse.com/pages/contact, or just click on the contact link, you get the map, and it's a editable, not editable, editable Google map where you can put your location if you want to. So I put my house on there and some other interesting microquad related locations I know. So if you have a cool spot to fly, or if you want to just advertise your own location to have other people find you, just put a pin on the map, say here you are, say put in your name and your email address or something like that. It doesn't have to be your exact address if you don't want that, but just put it in your neighborhood somewhere, and if someone else is in the area and looking for flying buddies, I thought it would be a cool idea to have that map to unite the microquad fans. So yeah, Madman likes the Denovich shop as well. Micro MWC has to replace the FETs, that's right. Reggie Shark. Mr. E figured out how to make a shark emoticon. That's funny. Denovich is spending more time finding, retrieving, setting up, rearranging all the gear. But it seems like you have a good thing going, so I suggest you build something cool. Stevie B asks what batteries I run with the Shark, and 62 Blues says no comment. I'm using the 480 milliamp my Lipos on these quads. Next topic is a satellite Lemon RX DSMX receiver. They come with these long antennas, which should prove useful in long-range FPV flying, because I actually find the control link to cut out earlier than my video link. It's getting towards the edge of the video link, and then stuff drops out of the sky. So I plan to run a larger stationary transmitter antenna for the control link. So on these orange RX modules, the antenna is external, so it's quite easy to mount, for example, a 5 to 10 dB gain dipole antenna. You can use the 2.4 gigahertz, for example, car-mounted Wi-Fi antennas for that. But then on the receiver side, I thought I'll increase my chances as well by using this receiver with two long antennas, which apparently work in diversity. They're quite flimsy, so I don't want them to be shredded in the props or hang loose. So I bought this stuff here, which is, I forgot what it is, but it's some tube. I posted it on, if you look for diversity receiver, DSMX reverse diversity receiver on the Micromotor community forum. I posted a link to this stuff in here. It arrived last week, and it seems to be quite suited for the job. So let me see, I cut off one piece, which is long enough to fully cover one antenna. I'm not sure if that's even needed, but this one piece weighs half a gram. So yeah, probably cut it down a little bit more to have just a few pieces to hold in the antenna and somehow probably just super glue to the frame. So maybe just take half of that and glue it to the top of the frame here on the inside maybe. and then stick those antennas in the tubes to keeping them in place at a high position away from the rest. So because I think two of these antennas in most orientations will have, one of them will have direct line of sight to the transmitter antenna. So yeah, a whole roll of that stuff was a few bucks. I can't remember, but not much. What else do I have? So yeah, carbon props. It's talking about that. Gimbals. I smashed my 9XR gimbal a week or two ago. So I had to buy a replacement, and before I put it in, I thought I'd show you this thing. It's actually a quite nice, quite large gimbal. I'm not sure if it's going to fit into any other transmitter, because the 9XE, Tyrannus 9XE, that's what it's for, is a massive transmitter. And if you compare this to a couple of others, so I have a little supply of various gimbals. Let me see. Actually, not that much small, not that much bigger. Looks more massive, and the angle the stick angle is larger, and the sticks themselves are larger. So yeah, before I put them in, I just thought I'll show you these gimbals. Very nice. They have a stick which you can screw out to make them longer, and you can actually make them very long, as opposed to most other sticks where you have like a counterpart which you need to tighten against the stick to keep it tight. There's a set screw in here, so you need an imbus driver to tighten that down, but then you can make them huge. It's almost like a joystick. Quite nice and precise. Not as good, I think. Oops, is my audio still working? Check. Yep. Not as good, I would say, as the Aurora 9 gimbals, but definitely a step up of the 9XR gimbals. So it looks like you might be able to shoehorn them into a 9XR, but I wouldn't bet on that. Here's a PCB on the side. Oh, here's one too. So yeah, not sure if they are usable in any other transmitter. I've read that people said they do not fit the Tyrannus 9XD, which would be the most likely where they would go into. So I don't know if they fit into any other transmitter but into the X9E. But yeah, if you want to try them, they are fairly inexpensive. They cost $15 at Aloft or Aloft. Aloft, I think it's Aloft Hobbies. The only place who sells them, as far as I know. Well, there's a 9XR gimbal, way cheap, I think $5. And while I'm already on it, show you a few more gimbals. This is a so-called 3D, 3-axis gimbal, 2-axis, and a third one. You can twist the stick. I tried that, and I used the twisting motion as a PID adjustment. Yeah, it didn't work too well. They claim Hall sensors, but I don't like the stick feeling too much. This here, it's an even fancier gimbal. Has 2 axes as well to move. Very stiff, not very nice. You can twist the knob and you can press the button. I got them from some robotic shop yeah, not good for flying. And yeah, some from the same shop, because I was already there. Got a few simpler ones. They look to me like they're the same, like the twisty one, but with just one fat stick, no twisty action. Yeah, not recommended either. At least not for flying. You know, maybe you can control some robot arm with that. So that's them. I also had some Aurora 9 gimbals, but those I put into my 9XR. So yeah, this is going to replace my busted 9XE gimbal, and here two more, just in case I drop it again. So Red Bull and Smirnoff, no battery included at 15 gram for a 480 my Lipo. Madman asks me 5 minutes ago about a shielding cable or just insulation. I don't know which cable you exactly are talking about, but I think I don't have any shielded cable somewhere here. So user 179 can't figure out how to add myself to the map. So if you click on the square icon on the top right of the map, you should come to the editable version. I think you need to have a Google account to put something on there. Maybe you have to enable some scripts or something. Christo drinks whiskey cola at 3 a.m. on a Monday morning. Red Bull in the mix. Standoffs are heavy. Standoffs and Smirnoff. No, Red Bull and Smirnoff. So solder directly for the lowest AUV, but your plugs are good if you crash stuff and want to get back into the air, so it's a compromise. It's currently 6:39 in California. Denovich feels bad about cutting off stuff. An integrated FPV plate. I don't know about that. Christo is going to work in 5 hours. Denovich uses balsa wood. 3-axis gimbal is for 90s helicopters, says Ernesto. Yeah, I think something like that, or planes. You know, for planes, I think it's pretty cool. So you can yaw with the twist motion. But I actually think a mech would be cool. You know, not an MAC, but an MECH, a mech, like a battle mech, where you can twist the torso while you're walking in the other direction. So in case I ever build a battle mech, I have the gimbals already in the box. So exactly, keep calm and buy more props. Buy props, my friends. I'm keen how you like those carbon props. I'm not earning much money on them. I just buy stuff in bulk because it's so good to buy stuff. So by selling stuff, I can buy even more. Tomorrow is a holiday. I heard that there's some holiday going on in the US. That's why my shipment will only arrive on Tuesday. Shane wants to get printing. Hey, cool, Shane. I'll come back to that. By the way, I still have stuff for you sitting here, Shane. So what's happening? I heard that you are kind of grumpy with with FPVR because of the stupid car park action. I hope that was not the reason for you not to turn up on the last race event. But here, maybe that makes you come here and pick up your printing plate, what I have for you. This is a print bed for the UP Mini, very similar to the print beds I use on my UP Plus. perforated metal. Very nice. Conducts heat very nicely, heats up well, and the bottom layer of the print gets squeezed into these holes. Makes a very nice adhesion. So I have no use for that because the UP Plus has a little cutout in the print bed. If I really get desperate, Shane, and I screw up my other print bed, I will Dremel a piece out and use it. So you better come quickly and pick it up. But yeah, if you want to print stuff for me, I've seen your place is fully equipped with lots of printers. I'd be very happy if you print a couple of them for me. It's simple. It prints very easily, and you get around at least 10, maybe 20 or 30 of them on one print bed. So I will make different angles, 10, 20, 30, 40 degrees maybe, or whatever you like. It's easy. Just change one parameter, or maybe if you my design isn't that good, as in, what's the right word for that? Parametric. To a degree, yes, but for example, one thing what I don't get done properly is the interrelation between different sketches. So every of these shapes is a different sketch. And for example, if I cut the hole with a different sketch into the side, I don't get that to move with the outer shape. So for example, if I would say that angle is now 30 degrees instead of 20, I'd need to change at least 2 values instead of 1. But yeah, we'll get there. Once the cameras are in there, I'll sit down for an hour or so and make 3, 4, 5 different angled pieces and give you the files, or get you some prints with Shane's help. Thank you. So, oh no, I actually realize when you mention my name in, so at Dr. Ben in the chat room, it doesn't only go Palim, but it also puts like a orange mark to the left side of the chat. So cool feature. So I'd encourage you to call me names when you want to say something in the chat, what you'd like me to pick up here in the stream, because yeah, there's a lot of chat going on between you guys, which is not always helpful for me to read during the stream. So yeah, if you want me to pay attention to what you say in the chat room, you will increase your chances by putting at Dr. Ben in there. So it's President's Day tomorrow. President's Day, whatever that is. Banks are closed on President's Day. And no postal service. Unbelievable. I think on President's Day, everyone should work extra hard. So yes, pinching. I use my gimbals by pinching them. I think by having your thumb up there, you have to apply pressure to get some good grip. And yeah, it just doesn't feel linear to me doing that. It's just much better. But yeah, it's personal preference. I wanted something fatter to grip. Oh yeah, I see. User179 posted a picture of his fat sticks on there. I still like my, I think, RotorWorks bling knobs, which are on my crashed 9XE. So yeah, ignore the other gimbal for a sec. This is what I put onto the transmitter, what I actually use, RotorX or RotorWorks. remember exactly, bling knobs. So they can actually be used for thumbing a little bit easier, but I still like to use them this way. Just make sure if you buy gimbals, that at least 2 different thread sizes, I believe 3 and 4 millimeters. So make sure you get the right one. Pinches of power. Mrs. Master RC student posts a picture of some, I think it's a Devo, with fat knobs. Cats hate when you pinch them. It's okay to be different, right? PS4 controller caps. Thumbing is for grobmotorikas. Yeah, you know, if you just want to change between forwards and backwards, I think thumbing is good. But yeah, I feel inaccurate by doing it. I think it's more a getting used to and personal preference thing than anything else. Lollipops. Right, so almost cleared off the table. I should drink more. Three more, actually 2 more things to go. This is, it says on the case, a HD video capture. I will use this to record FPV footage in HD. Say what? Yeah, I'm still not transmitting anymore than SD. Yeah, transmitter still going strong. But using my splitter, or actually not splitter, joiner setup, I combine 4 HD streams to one sort of HD split screen stream. And if you look back on this channel, you will see a recording of that, which was done with a ready-made RC SD DVR. So it basically records in the same resolution that we transmit video. And that's because I put 4 streams in there, is essentially reducing the recorded resolution by the factor 4. Too bad. So I need an HD recorder to record 4 SD streams in their native resolution. So this here is a thing which is used on, I believe, to record gaming footage from a gaming console. It costs around, I think I paid $140 delivered. That's Aussie dollars, so around, probably worth around $100 US. It has a HDMI input, has some more inputs, which I believe are, because they are grouped together here, these 2 I believe are composite, so probably video and audio, and these are probably component, and this is HDMI. So yeah, I don't need those 2 because my joiner PCB has HDMI output. So this will be getting the signal, and then here's an output conveniently as well, which I'll plug into a monitor so people can watch the split screen during the race live. It says Easy Cap on the bottom. EZ Cap. Easy Cap device, which is crap. I hope this one here is better. It was definitely more expensive than the other one I have. It records onto USB devices. I hope that's fast enough to actually work. Otherwise, I'll probably get a thumb drive. I don't need an external hard drive. I want to operate this mobile, portable, so yeah, I hope this would just work. What would be even better would be like an SD card reader where you slot the SD card into the thing and it disappears in the housing. I'm not sure if that's possible, but yeah, this is here my SD card reader. Small enough, but I think it can be even smaller. Has some audio in and outputs as well, which probably will be quite nice actually. So I plan a microphone into here while some audio, these audio signal on top with this thing. It needs 12 volts. So that's the problem. All the rest of my ground station runs on 12 volts. So in addition, I bought this thing here. It's a voltage regulator with apparently enough oomph to run this thing. I think it should, I think the power supply is at 2 amp. So this thing is rated, I think, at 4 amp. So there's USB plugs and from the ground station or power. It just very simple has 3 connections here, in, out, ground. Power this thing, receivers from 1, 3, and at the same time I get some USB 5 volt out to charge some things, for example the DVR. Quite nice. This thing was cheap, I think $5. So back on started a bit. I'm suffering the same. Stream lags. Okay, the stream lags, that's are pretty good that it lasted, wow, almost 2.5 hours with not lagging. So I'm keen to see that some of you are still watching. I'm getting towards the end. So if you have any last questions, make sure to post them in the chat now. The last thing I wanted to show, something what I'm using for years, and I think it's just worth a recommendation for, it's quite dirty because it's living in the back corner over there and has seen some acid attacks, other things. So this is a Power X Maha M-C9000 charger-analyzer. It also takes 12 volts, and which means if you have the right adapter, you can conveniently power it off a 3-cell Lipo. Comes with its own power supply, so it just sits there in the corner and charges AA and AAA batteries. So when using rechargeable AAA charger, I think it was at least $100 or something. And it's friggin' huge, other AA, 4 AA chargers are probably as big as that. But this one, you just pop the battery in and it charges. This is just right. So if you're just, and they will be charged. But and that thing is, it has a discharge and a cycle feature. The last three, I just use the program is called Refresh, and yeah, that's what it's doing. Sometimes I see batteries getting a little bit weak around in refresh, and they are good to go again. That's what I use unless I'm really in a hurry, but I have a lot of these. I use Hobby King, charge. I use LSD batteries. These are 900 milliamp, and the AA batteries are between 2300 and 2500. And according to this device, they actually have the capacity they state. So sometimes very close. Some of them I have like 870 milliamp, some of them 910, but yeah, very close to the actual 900 milliamp, which is remarkable for rechargeable double and triple A's. So you can get ridiculous stuff on eBay. Double A's which claim 2900 or even 3500 milliamps and don't deliver 400. So these Hobby King LSDs are good and deliver usually what they have on the label. If you are, if you really want to condition them, there's a break-in program which has sort of a trickle charge. So some of you guys might remember the trick from the old nickel metal hydride days. You can condition a nickel battery by trickle charging it for a long time. So it will charge them at, I think, 100 milliamps for 24 hours, and then it will discharge it and charge it normally again. That's recommended for breaking in nickel metal hydride AA, AAA batteries. I don't really think it's needed. These batteries come pre-charged. They work right out of the box. If you have regular high power, because these don't have a very high discharge rate, if you're using high power nickel metal hydride rechargeable double or triple A's, it could make sense to use the break-in stuff. And then there's also discharging and cycling. So you can set however many cycles you want. I sometimes use the cycle program to just check if there's actually a benefit of cycling them a few times before you put them in action, but no, not really. So I use charging and refresh analyze preferably. Yeah, I just want to give this thing a plug. It's the Maha, M-A-H-A, is the company. and the model name is, that's probably the only thing you need to know, MH slash, nee, dash, MH dash C9000 Wizard 1 charger analyzer. I think there's one other similar device what I've seen when I bought this thing, but yeah, been an absolute treat, and I run everything in my household on batteries, runs on these low self-discharge packs from Hobby King. That's it. All done. Let's check out the chat. Scott asks if I can demonstrate how I adjust my PIDs via the knobs while I keep my fingers on the sticks. So with the 9XE, it's actually a little bit trickier than with my 9XR. I think the 9XR is just fine for that. So I use these two knobs for PID adjustment and this one here for throttle control. So I either fly with the two fingers here and screw around like this, or usually I then go over to thumbing, because yeah, I don't necessarily adjust the PIDs while I go full throttle and scream around. I would fly around and then think, oh, maybe I need a little bit more of this or that value. Then I go to thumbing and twist around, go back to flying. With the 9XE, I'm using the sliders for PID control. So it has these two sliders here. So yeah, it's a bit awkward to do on camera because this thing usually sits on my lap, so it's stable. So you fly like this and then you have to let go a little bit. But yeah, it's convenient. You can do it while you just throw it in a quick hover and then adjust around on that. You know, it's not that I tweak around on them over the whole flight. I will usually do that at the beginning of a flight or when setting up a new model. So posting in the YouTube chat can be causing some lag. Yeah, I think so. Stream suffers lag. So I'm watching the stream here at the same time. It looks quite good to me. It's pretty sad. 240p is sad, but you know, it's about information, about knowledge, not so much about my face. So yeah, I'd like to have the gear in higher quality so you actually read stuff, etc. And I think we get there some stage. So apparently there's the NBN coming in, the National Broadband Network, but yeah, it's a political nightmare, which I don't know if it's what's coming out of this, but nothing what they have promised has been true so far. So, but they're digging up the grounds in lots of places around here. So I'll probably move away from here in a year or two, and then I'll make sure that I get a better internet connection. So Cisco WebEx. Ernesto says Cisco WebEx. Just pause the stream here, maybe that helps. Yeah, actually maybe WebEx. I used WebEx before. I also used their competitor, which is Citrix. I forgot what it is. But yeah, you know, these things which I used in enterprise web sessions usually in both directions. So no, actually just used for, yeah, maybe I'll do that. It's expensive though. YouTube is free. So new messages from 2 or 3, 4 minutes ago. Yep, Madman Ernesto. So I'm not really sure if YouTube is the problem or if it's just my internet connection. I'm quite pleased that it worked for 11:30 to 2.5 hours that well. And yeah, I'm not really sure if you guys are still listening to me. Oh, here, Master Assistant goes, go to meeting Citrix. Yeah, I think Citrix is probably the place to go for remote connections, good compression, high performance. As far as I know, they rule the remote desktop place. So if they have figured anything out, then it's how to send compressed video. So yeah, maybe Citrix GoToMeeting is worth a stab. Still live, says Mr. E in the Concord chat. Thank you. Madman says no internet guru, but see you later. Shane is going, or no? I'm getting confused. But yeah, it's funny enough. Bandwidth optimization used to be my job. I used to travel around the world and teach people how to optimize their traffic in enterprise networks. So still coming from that, I have a relatively sophisticated setup behind there controlling my traffic. Otherwise, it would be just a nightmare because, if you have 700K upload, it only takes a couple of devices thinking that they should communicate something, and half of that is occupied just by the egg traffic. So if you have 20 Mbit, or well, I don't get that much, but 10 Mbit download, it's possible to create a thick X stream, it's ACK stream of 3 to 500K just by confirming that you are receiving a 10 Mbit download. So if, for example, an iPhone decides to download a new update, it can screw up a lot of my upload. Citrix is GoToWebinar, said Ernesto. Yeah, they have different GoTo branded things. But I think you're right. GoToWebinar is probably the place to go. GoToMeeting is more like a two-way thing. So yeah, GoToWebinar is the place where you have hundreds of slots, etc. And yeah, I'll have to check if that's within my budget because yeah, it's an enterprise solution, so it might be expensive. So I think Shane is going. You're right, GoToMeeting. So Bob Lee tries to tag me in the YouTube chat. Doesn't work, Bob. You might be able to call me Micromotor Warehouse on YouTube, but even that would probably not highlight the post or make some palim. No, the tagging only works on the Discord chat. So if you go into the other chat, what I've linked there, and put a leading or somewhere in the chat, put @DrBen, it makes a little bit of a sound here on my computer, and we'll put a little orange mark in front of your message, so it makes it easier for me to pick up on those. Your question is if I have a Hexacopter. Yeah, I've built several Hexacopters, and I was hoping to just get more punch out of them, because apart from the maximum thrust output, I actually see no reason to go away from quadcopters. You know, you're not getting any real redundancy out of a hex. The additional weight is too much to actually comfortable make it fly on any 4 of the motors. And if you lose one, this will not only make you lose, someone is pinging me and figured out how to tag me on the Discord chat, so Master RC student. So you not only lose that motor if that goes off, but you will also lose some of the other motors, because just for pure yaw stability, you want to have always a clockwise and a counterclockwise prop running in sync. So you will lose more than just one motor by losing one. And 4 is not enough to carry this thing with authority. So as soon as one motor goes, this thing doesn't drop like a rock. You know, usually if you see a quad flying and it loses a prop, it will basically somersault into the ground immediately. It's not plummeting like a rock, more like a spinning rock. As opposed to a hex, if it loses a motor, it kind of crashes in more like a spinning, drifting motion. So yeah, here we go. It doesn't really help with redundancy. If you want to have redundancy, I always like to show off this thing. One of my most favorite builds. If you go to Octo, you can actually lose one, or in certain combinations also 2 motors, and it will still fly. Not very good, but it's possible to get it to the ground even if you lose a prop. It's not really, I think the flight controller is not really understanding that it lost a motor, but yeah, it compensates well enough for it. So yeah, this one here runs 8 by 20 millimeter motors with clear hubs and props, I assume hand soldered 18V Octa version, a 400 milliwatt TX5826 flight controller, a video transmitter with a smashed up antenna, running a similar to the MC900 camera, plus a 808 number 16 HD, as in 720p local recording camera. Flies pretty good, but it's the only one I have. Oh, I forgot, it runs on the Octo frame from MJ666. So if you're interested in these frames, very, very solid carbon fiber, I think 2 millimeters or so, but with nice cutouts, so it's very good weight. And the motor mounts are just super solid. So these motors are not going anywhere. It's a very interesting concept. There's little lock tabs in the mounts. So you push the tabs into the frame, then these mounting tabs lock in, and then you push the motor into it, and that locks the locking tabs in place. And the fit is so tight that I specifically for this build ordered a little vise and printed some motor pusher things so I can use the vise to push the motors into the mounts, and I also printed a special piece to push them out again in the vise. Otherwise I don't know how you want to mount this together, which makes a very solid build. So yeah, it's just nothing vibrates, nothing rattles. This thing is just solid like a frisbee. But yeah, I'm a little bit scared to fly this thing because it's the only flight controller of that sort I have. And when I crash it, you just can't fix it on the spot. So you need tools and around 10 minutes each to replace each of these motors. So yeah, it took me hours to build this thing. Quite nice though, makes some nice footage, as you might be able to see. I slightly angled the camera downwards because it's not for speeding around, it's more for the relaxed panoramic beach flying. So far to the question if I have a Hex. Yeah, unfortunately they don't fly as good as I would like it to. Yeah, that's an Octo, Mr. RC student, indeed. Yep, Shane, come over here anytime. You're welcome. Master RC student is Thumber. You know, I think it's as obsolete this discussion as Mac or Windows. Whatever floats your quad. Yes, and MJ666, who by the way is the main software developer in charge for the Alien Wii flight controllers, has an excellent multi-Wii thread if anyone is interested, as MJ, as Madman says in the chat. So, that's one tiny octocopter. Yeah, it's too small actually to run 66mm props. So the props almost touch on 55mm. So I think it's 160mm across. Yep, twist the nibbles however she likes it. Rekko has played a lot of FPS video games. I actually started flying not Freerider, didn't like that too much for some reason. Liftoff, I started to play Liftoff. And I started using PlayStation 4 controllers on it. If any one of you plays on the Mac, these wireless PS4 controllers connect very easily to the Mac, and they have two analog thumb sticks. Yeah, I don't like them. They have quite a bit of resistance to get them moving off center, and then once you get them moving, you've almost hit the end of the throw. So it's good for Mario Kart, but yeah, that's it. So yeah, it really feels indeed to me as well. It's like this is a male-only community, even worse than the internet itself. You know, in the beginning of the internets, we only had a male population in there as well. Now the ladies realize that internet is actually a cool thing, but I think it will take a long time for them to realize that microquads or quads in general are a good thing as well. Shane is on the forefront of that. So, all good. I think I'm I'm at the end of the stream. Stu, my friend Stu, UAV Futures is coming into the stream as well. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you again. I like to watch your funny videos. So those of you who haven't seen him yet, go to the chat room and click on UAV Futures. He has a cool channel going with, not everything microquad related, but a few microquad topics and FPV stuff in general. Good stuff and always a good vibe. So that's it, my friends. Keep calm and order more props. See you later.